Welcome guys, this is Coach Adrian, and today's video will be focused on answering some questions that you were asking me when I mentioned that I am 5-year porn free, that I am 5 years into this journey of recovery and I'm doing well. For some of you it may seem like an unattainable goal, but it's definitely something that you can do as well, and I would like to answer some of your questions on how does the life look like after being porn-free for such a long period of time. So let's dive right to those questions. First question is, hey dude, what does it feel like to look at women after porn? So my answer is it feels amazing. After not watching porn, after being sober for certain periods of time, you start to notice that women are beautiful, kind, and great human beings. They're just not ass and tits, but something much more, something much greater. And this is a thing that I realized after being PMO free for a long time, that wow, those are really an amazing human beings, and it's just not about sex anymore. It's more about personal relationship, connection, and of course you can notice, if somebody is beautiful, of course you notice their beauty, but you look at them really differently. You notice the personality as well, and sex is not your primary focus anymore. Another question that I have from another guy is, does NoFap help me in strong memory? So NoFap basically is this movement of people who want to stop masturbating. For me, it's very important to make a difference between compulsive masturbation and natural or normal masturbation. So compulsive masturbation is something that we do to cope with our emotions, and healthy masturbation is something that we do if we don't have any sexual outlet or any partner once in a while because we have those sexual urges. And in terms of compulsive masturbation, I think it definitely affects concentration. So when I was addicted to porn, I was usually having struggles with my memory, with my concentration, with focus, and studying was really hard for me. So if you look at that particular thing and you move past the porn addiction, you start training mindfulness, you start doing some healthy habits, and you don't have this constant distraction in your mind, then for sure it will help your memory, because if you're focused, you remember more, right? So obviously this is affecting our memory as well, but I don't think the memory problems are created by watching porn. I think this is just a byproduct of us being distracted all the time. So practicing mindfulness is the key here to actually gain some momentum and get back on the level of to the level of functioning that you were showing before watching porn. For me, it took some years. I remember that before I started getting really deep into that addiction, I was very very bright, always had only A grades in school, had great memory. And after some time, I realized that it's really much harder for me to learn and memorize stuff. And it took me a few years of not watching porn to get back to the same level of mental functioning by training mindfulness, reading a lot on how to improve the brain. There is a great place to improve our brain functions, which is called Lumosity. So if you didn't check that, it's a web page that is containing some of the games that are created to develop our brain. So you memorize during those games, or you train your focus and concentration. It's a great resource. So if you want to try making this process a little bit faster, I suggest going to this page. It's called lumosity.com. Let's move to the next question. All right, so next question. Do you have control of yourself when you see the semi-naked woman, or when it happens, your libido is greater? Yes, I definitely have a control of myself right now. If you meet your true needs, you are connected, you do well in different areas of life, you take good care of yourself, you practice self-love, then you can go to a yoga class full of women in the yoga pants, and you will still be able to control yourself and to just focus on the practice. The problem is not porn or masturbation by itself, but unmet needs that are behind this addiction. Remember that porn and masturbation addiction is just a symptom of something else that you need to work on. If you work on that, then definitely you will have less triggers and it will be much easier for you to control yourself in those places. Next question. How long would it take to cure performance anxiety? Well, there is no one timeline for curing anything in psychological area. It differs from person to person, but I think with the help of a good specialist, it should take a few months maximum. In terms of, the performance anxiety, I think the good resource is sexological therapy or CBT. So you can focus on those, cues that are creating anxiety for you and train yourself in lowering the level of anxiety before anything sexual happens. So the sexual experience will be great and the performance will be also good on your side. I think there is usually something behind that anxiety. We feel that we are not good enough, or we self-deprecate a lot. So it's good to practice that habit of looking into your own mind and maybe challenging those thoughts that you have about yourself on a daily basis, challenging those thoughts about your low self-worth and challenging those thoughts about what will happen if you start having sex, because you don't know, right? You don't know, you just expect yourself to fail, and if you expect yourself to fail, obviously you will fail, right? So it's very important just to work on those thoughts before anything happens between you and your partner on, in any sexual situation. Another question. Did you make the attempt to abstain from PMO, porn, masturbation, orgasm, while doing anything sexual related mentally, physically, and spiritually during those 4 years? So my answer is I abstained from all sexual activity for 3 months, even though I was in a relationship back then. So that was a total celibacy for 3 months. And after that, I was doing NoFap, so no masturbation, no porn, with healthy sexuality included for next years. I focus on my other goals, other areas of life as well. So it was not just about abstaining from sex, but it was mostly about gaining awareness around my sexuality, and of course moving forward in different areas of life, so I will be not as triggered to get back to porn. Next question. How long did it take to rewire so that the brain isn't thinking tits, ass, etc. when a girl walks past or there is some sort of trigger? I've been free for 2 months, but recently I found the brain wanting to stay in the old configuration. Any tips? So for me, that was 1 year of recovery work to stop thinking in this way. For some people, it may seem like a long time, but consider that you were probably acting out for the last 10, 15, 20 years. So actually 1 year is a really short amount of time considering how long you were focusing on strengthening that habit. I wasn't relapsing even if I had those thoughts. That's very important. So you can have those thoughts sometimes, but your freedom of choice lies in how to respond to those thoughts. How do you respond to those thoughts about tits and ass and objectifying women? This is the place where you can make a different choice, a healthy choice, and choose to do something that will calm yourself, bring you back to your values, to your integrity, and you can move forward. So I was making also a conscious effort to connect and imagine those people as people who are not sexual objects, and I had those thoughts. I was imagining that person with her brother, sister, family, and that helped me to see that person more as a human being and not just tits and ass. So it's a good practice to just develop on a daily basis. If you notice yourself objectifying somebody, just try to imagine them as a real human being in a relationship context. So these women that you objectify, they are somebody else's daughter. You can imagine them with their father or with brother or with their kids maybe, like they're hugging, they're having a good family time. Try to see them as human beings, and I think that could help you to move past this objectification phase and to see something more than just tits and ass. Another question, what do you feel? This is not a very specific question, but I can answer that, no problem. So right now I feel quite normal. I feel sad sometimes, I feel happy sometimes. NoFap is not a magical pill, right? So it's not something that it will cure all your life problems. You still need to work on yourself and your life as well. For sure, it feels great to not be consumed and constantly obsessed about, sex and porn. But I think there is much more to work on, and I'm finding those new things to work on every month, every year. And the biggest thing that I noticed after these years that I feel is a great achievement on my side is that I don't hate myself anymore. I trust myself much more. I recognize my strong points, my weak points, and I don't hate myself. I don't engage in self-deprecation. I know that if I put my attention to something, I can achieve my goals. So stopping watching porn helped me to raise my self-esteem and create that sense of believing in myself, because overcoming that was very hard. So when I did that, I felt like, yes, I can achieve my goals. Yes, I can do something that I put my mind to, and I can reach my goals. Another question, how long were you attempting to quit before your last relapse? I heard it takes a lot of guys 1 or 2 years before they can finally go a full 90 days. So the question is, after noticing that I am addicted to porn, how much time did it take for me to move past that addiction? So I realized that I have a problem with that addiction probably around 16 years old, and I started making some attempts on stopping myself, but it wasn't really a recovery work. It wasn't something that was providing great effects for me. I was trying to quit based on my willpower, and I think after like 4 or 5 years, I decided to reach out to Coach Craig, who was my recovery coach, and he shared a brilliant method with me, which is called the Mindful Habit System. And thanks to that method, I was staying PMO free till now. So I would say probably it was around 5 years between noticing that I have a problem and making my first attempts to really stopping watching porn. But it's different for everybody. If somebody notices that and reaches out for help faster than me, then it can take just 1 year or 2 years, right? It's not dependent on it's dependent on the person and how fast we make those healthy choices. I was waiting for 5 years to actually reach out to somebody, and that's why it took me so long. Were you having sex on NoFap? How different was it? So I did have sex, and it was really enjoyable first time in my life. It was really something that I started enjoying, and it wasn't an experience that was, letting me down or disappointing me. After how much time did you start to notice so much change, like ups in energy, being able to stay awake for long with less sleep, being more physically active, and being mentally there? For me, that was around 3 to 6 months. But remember, guys, that doesn't like not masturbating will not give you superpowers. You need to work some more on yourself and different skills and mental strategies to develop in order to really gain a greater performance in different areas of your life. And of course, if you don't act out, you have less shame, you sleep better, you have more energy. That's obvious. But in order to really move to the next level and be really energetic, that's something you need to work on a daily basis after stopping porn. What was the hardest thing, and how did you get over first month? So the hardest thing for me was understanding that lack of sex won't kill me, but lack of love will. That was the hardest thing. I always believed that if I don't have sex, I will fall apart. That was part of my addiction thinking. And after a few months of recovery, I realized that actually lack of sex won't kill me, but if I continue depriving myself from love and connection that I need, then for sure I will die. I will kill myself, you know, or I will be so depressed I don't want to eat anymore. I was heading into that direction. So definitely this was the hardest thing to realize, and, you know, really focus on that connection, focus on opening up to people. It really takes a lot of bravery to share that with people, and to be open and vulnerable and show your flaws. And if you don't do that, then you miss the connection, you miss the opportunity to really share some emotions with people, and you stay isolated. And when we are isolated, porn creeps back to our life. How did you deal with loneliness and frustration? I created a plan. So I wrote down what I feel frustrated with. Then I asked myself, are those things that I can actually change? And in most cases, the answer was yes. Yeah, I can change those things. So do I need somebody to help me with those changes? That was another question. Do I need somebody to help me with those changes? If yes, how much do I need to save to hire that person? Right? So then I create a plan, you know, a savings plan, or a plan of tackling those different issues on my own. And in terms of loneliness, I think it's a little bit simpler. We need to connect, we need to reach out to friends and nice people around. If you don't have much people around, I think it's because we are afraid to truly open up to others. And it's good to just go to some places where, you know, people with similar interests meet, and reach out and open up to people. If you make the first step, sometimes you will have a positive response, and that's how you will gather friends. So my road to not feeling lonely was reaching out and speaking from my heart. Who cares if you will be judged, right? At least you are going to know who's your real friend and who's not. So that's my way of thinking. You share your truth, and if somebody doesn't like that, or somebody, you know, is not supportive, you know that perhaps that person is not as friendly as you thought that person will be, right? So maybe you should focus on somebody else who will support you more. Of course, the negative feedback sometimes, or just generally the critical feedback, is important, and it's important to get that feedback from friends. But I'm saying about something else, more about ill will, you know, and those things that we can notice sometimes, that somebody is not really supporting us in our journey, or not really connecting with our message. Then we know that maybe our roads are parting. Another question. I am maladaptive daydreamer and have depersonalization. Will NoFap help me to reduce this? If you experience depersonalization, I think you need to dig deeper than that. I suggest therapeutic work with somebody. I did that as well for quite some time, and it helped me a lot. Fighting with porn was helping me to daydream less, because I was engaging less in fantasies. But I'm thinking that probably your problem goes a little bit deeper than just watching porn and masturbating. So some kind of therapeutic work would be good in that case. Why did you start this journey in the first place? I started this journey because my porn addiction was getting out of control, and I was hurting my girlfriend by constant porn watching and masturbation. She was affected by that. She was feeling very hurt and depressed, that I prefer watching other women and, you know, not focusing on her. And I noticed that I am also getting more depressed and more anxious, and that I am constantly obsessed about sexual stuff. So I wasn't controlling my mind, and freedom is one of my most important values. So I wanted to focus on something that will give me that freedom, and fighting that addiction definitely moved me towards that goal. I think there is a space also for healthy masturbation from time to time, like I mentioned, but perhaps this is something to consider after a long time of sobriety if you don't have any partner. I think always connecting with somebody else, like with a real human being, is better for us who struggle with compulsive sexual behavior, because it's very easy to isolate ourselves again if we continue just, you know, mindful or healthy masturbation. But if you are really having a good approach to it, you're mindful, you're not including any kind of fantasies, and you're doing it, you know, once in a week or once in 2 weeks, it shouldn't be a big problem. It's also an expression of your sexuality as well. Another question, do you get laid by 2 different chicks in 3 months time spent though. For what reason? I am in a relationship and I'm happy with what I have. I love my girlfriend. I don't see any reason why I would have to get laid with 3 different chicks in 3 months of time. It doesn't seem like a reasonable goal for me. Okay, another question. Is it true that practicing NoFap leads to attaining a deeper voice? My first answer is I didn't experience that change. I don't know. The second question, how much time it took to feel confident in public, especially around girls? So NoFap didn't help me with that, but meditation and therapy did. And it took me around, I think, around a year to be more comfortable with myself and to be more comfortable with speaking in public and, especially around girls. That's something that definitely meditation can help with, and some self-esteem course or therapeutic work. Can porn-induced erectile dysfunction be cured with NoFap? Definitely, it's porn-induced. So if you stop watching porn and masturbating, then it should get back to normal. You shouldn't have an erectile dysfunction anymore. Do NoFap leads to increase in testosterone level? If yes, how much amount does it take to notice, and what are the parameters by which one can feel that his testosterone level has increased? So for me, what I found for myself is that I have more energy and I am more attractive to girls when I am focusing on this no masturbation, no porn journey. But I'm not sure if that's connected to my testosterone level. I think that's more connected with my self-esteem and me respecting myself and me having the integrity. If I have more self-esteem, more charisma, of course, women will be more interested in me, and of course, I will have more energy. So I'm not sure if that's connected with the testosterone level. Okay, guys, so I have another pieces of questions from you, but I think for today we'll finish, and next day I can give you answers for the second part of the questions that you were asking me. I see at least 10 more questions, so I will be very happy to answer them next time. For now, I am heading back to my daily responsibilities and working with guys in the mindful habit coaching. This is something that I am doing on a daily basis. I just help other guys to overcome their porn addiction and to achieve what I actually achieved. So it doesn't matter if you're, if you're 18 or 20 or you're 60 years old, it is possible. And I think cases like mine are showing that everybody actually can achieve that. I'm not a superhuman. I'm just a regular guy who was, working his ass off to beat this addiction with the mindful habit method. So if you are interested in doing that as well, reach out to me. You can mention that you would like to discuss this topic in the comments section, or reach out to me by writing a mail on adrian@themindfulhabit.com or going to my page ascoaching.org. Thank you very much.